The Stabby Road podcast is intended for mature audiences. So why are you listening?
This is the Stabby Road podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Stabby Road, the podcast where three generations of horror fans look at movie themes. Fuck that up, horror themes. Can I just go on, or do you need a countdown?
Sure, just go on.
Okay. Hi everybody, welcome to another episode of the Stabby Road podcast, in which three generations of fans look at horror themes through movies that they've picked from their preferred eras. To my right is award-winning filmmaker and Sesame Street did the show with the puppets director Rob Graydon.
Hello.
To my left is America's sweetheart, award-winning adult performer, the lovely, the talented, the legendary Sonia Harcourt.
Thanks.
She has won many adults in her life. They're all on shelves out in the living room.
It's only the first episode we're shooting. It's been a long day.
There. That's the one.
Yes,
that's
the award.
The one.
That's there. So all of you at home who are watching this on video still can't see it.
We'll bring it out later.
Yes. So the theme for the next couple of episodes, if you've been paying attention, is clowns.
And for the specific month of...
For the specific...
Do you remember what it's called?
Oh, yes. It was Clowngasm, Swalloween. There was a third one.
Spectacular.
Spooktacular. So Clowngasm,
Swalloween,
Spooktacular.
Okay, that's going to look good on the social media. But today we're going to stick with the old, boring... miniseries from 1990, kids, from the 20th century, the early 1990s, as they say.
Or the 1900s, as they're calling it now.
Yes, the late 1900s, yes. Called It, which was a miniseries on television, which honestly was just 2 episodes, really.
Really, yeah.
When you think about it. I remember watching this originally, and there was a golden time where television horror movies were a lot of fun, and it was almost like they were trying to see how far they could get with the networks. And 1990, I think, was probably the peak, because the late 80s, because horror was so hot, they were taking a lot more chances on television. Most of you are familiar with the story. The way this is broken up is the first episode, which if you watch it on streaming, it's 3+ hour thing, but it was basically 2 2-hour movie events, as they would call it. The first episode takes place mostly through flashbacks. We are introduced to the characters, the writer character, the architect character,
as
the
adults.
Fashion, yes, yeah. As adults. And as they get a phone call from Tim Reed from WKRP in Cincinnati, saying, "Hi, it's Mike. It's happened again." And then dum-dum-dum, fade out to flashbacks.
Right.
Now, what's interesting is, since this was made in 1990, the flashbacks all took place in the 1950s,
Yeah.
Right.
which for me was cool because it was a flashback to the 50s, whereas now the remake, a flashback to the 80s, because that seems to be what people do. So it was interesting for me to watch them flashback to the 50s, because I'm so used to these flashbacks to the 80s. It was just weird to say, oh, yeah, right. So that was old at the time. Then the second episode, they are full adults, and they all get together, and they decide to fight Pennywise the Clown, who had been plaguing them in the first episode. Played, of course, by the immortal...
Tim Curry.
There you go.
I'll try to control myself.
That's okay. And you had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Curry this year.
I did. Oh my God. Ever so briefly, but yeah, I'll try and find the picture later, maybe. But I got a picture with Tim Curry at Monsterpalooza this year. I still cry when I see the picture, because I don't know how he's not a bigger deal to more people, because he is just such an instrumental part of like my growing up and just being an actor, wanting to act. He was hugely important to that for me. So yeah, it was one of the more incredible experiences. I like knelt down And I said, "It's such an honor to meet you, Mr. Curry." And he literally goes, "Oh, please, just call me Tim. And what is your name, my dear?" And I was like, "Whatever you want it to be." I didn't say that, but inside.
From now on, just call me. Can someone get me a glass of water, please?
Seriously, whatever you need, sir.
So, and the second episode, or the second part rather, they're the adults. They go after Pennywise, and relatively ambitious stuff for the time.
Yeah.
Turns into an animated spider done by Dave Allen.
Yeah.
And I remember seeing at the time, I'm like, are they going to do the spider? Because I'd read the book.
Okay.
And I was like, it's network, it's ABC. They're going to cop out, and they didn't. Right down to the part where they're all grabbing and they're just grabbing spider meat and throwing it all over the place. It was pretty gruesome for 1990. And of course they win, and then they all go back to their lives and they forget about everything, and that's pretty much
they all
the show.
lived happily ever after.
Exactly. So that was it, 1990 in a nutshell. Thank you very much. See you next week.
Good night, everyone.
Sponsored by Dom Perignon. I just noticed that on this rewatch. I'm like, every time there is alcohol, it is a bottle of Dom Perignon.
Yeah.
Yes.
Every time.
I'll tell you something. For people who are traumatized, they were all pretty goddamn successful.
Oh, yeah. Well, they acknowledge that in the library scene.
And in the book as well, they talk about that.
How, like, Mike's sort of staying behind, sacrifice, and they all became unusually successful.
Right.
Yeah, they acknowledge that. But I don't know if they ever explain it, but they acknowledge it.
Yeah.
Well, what it is because the further they get away from Derry, the less they remember everything.
Yeah.
And the less it's keeping their fears away from them and keeping their inabilities to do things like succeed or stay as children. It's
Joe's not used to traumatized people being successful.
Oh, super tech spicy today. Oh my.
Sorry.
This has just been from like 7 a.m. to now has just been like, bend Joe over and just stick a hot poker up his ass.
No, we love you.
So I'm not talking about just you.
Stop it. The poker wasn't hot.
I'm not just talking about you. It's everything. Clients, work, everything. Fuck it. I'm done.
No.
Okay.
No, talk. I'm genuinely curious. I want to talk about it because I'm expecting, I don't know, people like my age, like people talk shit about it. Like, oh my God, it's so bad. It's so, I'm like,
it's because they don't understand what, it's like watching when some people complain about a Marvel movie. I put myself back in 1977 when Captain America was a guy on a motorcycle with a motorcycle helmet and a shield as the windshield. It was a transparent windshield, and it's like we begged for this kind of stuff.
Right.
I will take a bad Marvel movie, over the crap that we were fed because it was scared network executives. Keep in mind these guys, television production, the way my friend Harry Worksman explains it. Harry Worksman, who produced Grey's Anatomy. Not that I'm dropping names.
Let me just pick that up for you.
Yeah.
Explained that it was an apprenticeship program. So people grew up as television writers. Okay. So what happened was you had guys in charge of making decisions who had worked on like 77 Sunset Strip back in the 1950s. So it was like, we can't really do that here. We got to do this. We're going to do that. Here's the budget. There you go. Do. So we were lucky.
I mean, even all that being said, though, I feel like objectively, if we're just breaking down how they brought it from book to screen, it's
well done.
Great.
Yes.
It's not, and like, just as for the acting, I mean, it was a little more over the top than like the current, but that was very 90s as well.
It was also the actors. Richard Thomas.
I love that cast. I fucking love that cast.
Okay.
I really do. I will die on that hill. I love that cast so much.
Okay.
But it's like, I understand people maybe looking at it from like a budget point of view, being like, it doesn't hold up. But overall, I don't know.
Budgetarily, I didn't think it was. I was surprised at how much production value they put into the underground. And again, the spider, that somebody at ABC actually decided to reach out to Dave freaking Allen.
Yeah.
To animate the spider. And the spider looked like a spider.
Yeah, it looked good. It
wasn't
look very
like,
good.
Off-screen
hand,
thing going like this.
I just, in general, I don't know, maybe because I grew up with it, I have a nostalgia for it too. But like when people talk about how crappy it is and how bad it is, I'm just like, really though?
In 1990, okay, so I was married a year. So by that time, and I'd known Sandra for 3, so my horror diet had plummeted considerably. So the fact that they had put it on TV, I didn't even think Sandra watched it with me.
But you were like,
she always hates she hates clowns to begin with. So I caught it, one night when it was on because I had to, and I loved it. So I was thrilled that they did After Salem's Lot, which was, in my opinion, still the definitive TV version of Stephen King.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which we really have to do one day.
Yeah.
Indeed. Seeing them do it justice, I was thrilled. I really enjoyed it. So watching it the second time, yes, all the cracks are there, and
there are definitely writing constraints. Obviously, it's a 1,100-page book.
Yeah, exactly.
But Lawrence H. Cohen, not to be mistaken for Larry Cohen.
I was going to ask
Lawrence H. Cohen, who actually co-wrote Carrie, the screenplay for Carrie.
Oh, I did not know that.
Wrote it, and so given the constraints that he had, things like the network telling him he can't really rip Georgie's arm off and things like that.
Right.
He certainly did a relatively good job of.
It still scared people. I feel like,
particularly when it came out. The issues I always had with it are the issues I have a lot of times with Stephen King's books when they get translated to film, and that's usually the climax of the film. A lot of times with Stephen King's books, he uses metaphor and allegory as if they're actually happening in the story.
Right.
Which a lot of people mistake for that's what it must actually look like.
Right.
And so with the spider, it's much more allegorical in the script, which makes it way more scary. Very much like in The Stand, when they talk about the end with the hand of God coming down, and they sort of literalize that, and it looked kind of a little goofy. Or when when they did the TV version of The Shining with the topiary gardens. Yeah. Well, in the book, that's freaking scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
But when he literalizes that visually, it's like
cheesy.
Yeah. It just looks like a bunch of, like he's in a puppy mill and there's just a bunch of puppies coming after him that just happen to be shaped like hedges or something.
I think there are hedges shaped like puppies.
Yes. That puppy's shaped like hedges. Right. That would have been
horrifying.
So it was a hedge mill.
It was a hedgy mill, if you will.
Go. And I will say, like, just, I know we're not going to talk about the new one too, but I do like that they touch on that a little bit in the new one, where James McAvoy is always like, everybody's just busting his balls about the ending of his books, because obviously the writer character is Stephen King.
Right, exactly.
I do like that they acknowledge that a little bit, because it's funny. He's just clearly had it.
I would like to talk about Richard Thomas's ponytail.
Yes.
Okay.
So, again, back in the old days, there was a TV show called The Waltons, which Richard Thomas was famous for. And The Waltons was the TV show that your parents, when they wanted to punish you, they made you watch it.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was
I don't even think they watched it. You know what I mean? I think they just punished you by making you watch it.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That Little House on the Prairie.
I was just going to say Little House on the Prairie.
Oh,
I'm sorry,
some
Sandra.
people who do unironically love it. I do know some people,
Sandra loves Little House. If she listens to this episode, I'm not going to talk shit about Little House on the Prairie, except when it came out. When that came out and when the Waltons were popular, I was really getting into the horror and monster stuff at the time. And as a counterpoint to that, my parents said, we're going to watch the Waltons, because it was there was a TV movie that Earl Hammer did called, I forgot what it was, but that was what the genesis of the Waltons were. Now, the Waltons was such a squeaky clean show about life of all these people living together in the Depression, and then there's a reason why it was called the Depression. Watching that show,
it made the Brady Bunch look like the Manson family.
Yeah.
Ooh, I think that's a good pitch.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So actually, you know what? I have to throw this out.
That might be a little extreme. I was trying to think of something else that was more hardcore than the Brady Bunch, but that's
hang on. I have to give props to my old friend Mark Altman, who made a film called Free Enterprise, which opens with a character pitching a movie about a serial killer in the Brady family home, and it's called Brady Killer.
That's
Nice.
cute.
So I got it. So
There you
it's been done. So anyway, Richard Thomas
And
was
his ponytail.
Richard Thomas was the older character. He was
Right,
John
he was
Boy.
John Boy.
And every episode ended with they all said goodnight together. It was a
Yeah.
shot of the
Yes.
outside of the house, and the lights would go off.
And
And hear
all
good
I-
night,
It was-
Jim
yeah, it was-
Bob.
yeah, it was
Good night,
good.
Mama.
And then
Good
the light
night,
would go
good
out
night, John
and- yeah.
Boy.
And now all I can think of is the Family Guy joke.
It's
Good night, John Boy.
Yeah.
Good night, John Boy. Light on. God damn it! Can't a guy masturbate around here?
so.
There you go.
So now, if you've ever watched the Family Guy episode, you
That's,
know
Now
the
you
genesis.
literally
get
what
it.
that's from. Yeah.
So he was known as a squeaky clean guy, and he had short hair and that ponytail. Just when he first turns around, because he looks just like Richard Thomas from the front, and then he turns
Right.
around and there's like a Wookiee pelt behind him,
Right.
and it's like it's 1990. Okay, so 1990 was a weird time in fashion history.
Yes.
Yeah.
The 80s still had an influence to some extent, but then they started acid washing the jeans, and guys were growing their hair a little bit longer.
Yeah. Women were wearing mom jeans.
Yeah,
and-
it was weird, and ponytails.
Ponytails were a thing?
It was like a really long mullet, the
Yeah.
90s ponytail,
Yeah.
because you just kept your hair short in the front,
And you just
and you
yep.
just kept it kept it long in the back, and you tied it. So it was
Yes.
like
And his was tied with like an 8-foot leather rope.
Yes.
Did you know that? Because it was really distracting. It just like these big leather things just came coming out of the back of his head.
Yes.
Oh.
but that was a look back
Yeah,
then.
that was a look.
There was a guy I worked with at the convention company who adopted that look.
Right.
And
So you're saying for you, like when it came out, that was kind of shocking
Yeah.
because
And
he was the
because-
squeaky clean, sort of preppy,
Yes,
turned
exactly. Yes.
like almost edgy.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
And
Okay.
all those
So-
guys who had those ponytails back then,
Yeah.
you will now see at every carnival concert, and their hair's gray, and they still have the ponytails, and they're playing cover tunes from the 80s,
That's,
Oh, okay.
and they have Hawaiian shirts.
I didn't realize
but they
there
don't.
was so
but the
much.
point is, they don't have any hair in the front
Nope.
anymore. That's the point.
No,
So
yes,
it's-
yes, right.
But
They have
back
no
in the
hair on
day,
top.
it
Yeah.
was still the short hair in the front and then the long ponytail in the back.
Yep.
It was
and they're all named Glenn.
yes. It was, so that ponytail was a character of its own. I thought
For you,
for
apparently.
me, yes,
yes.
because it's just it was the beginning of a very horrible period of style in the 90s, which 90s kids may find nostalgic, but between the Jinko jeans and
I'm a 90s child and I hate Jinkos.
well, good. I'm glad to hear that.
I'm not mad about crop tops coming back, though, if I'm being totally honest.
It really? Oh
No.
I don't have a complaint.
I will say a good thing about Richard Thomas in this particular role of
Yeah.
his. And I thought he did actually a really good, and I'm going to use the word responsible, job of portraying someone with
stutter.
a stutter.
Yeah, oh, yes,
Agreed. He did
absolutely.
a great job.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought he did a terrific job with that.
really, really, really did it justice, I
yes,
thought.
and
yeah.
the fellow who played him younger.
Oh,
whose name
God,
I
that-
forget. He did
yeah.
a great
Oh,
job.
he was
with
Jonathan
Stutter also,
Brandis.
so-
All
Jonathan
the
Wright,
kids
that's
were
right.
great too, but him in particular,
Yeah.
yeah. He like just his grief was in his eyes
Yeah.
so much. It was all, especially when he would start talking about Georgie. You just felt it.
Yeah.
That kid was amazing.
Seth Green,
Yeah, little
Was-
baby
Yep.
Seth
the
Green.
little, you know,
Yep.
tiny,
Beep,
tiny
beep,
little
Richie.
baby media mogul in training.
Yeah.
Seth Green. It's like I didn't remember him being in it. So when I saw the credits come up, because back in the old days they would pack all the credits up front.
Mm-hmm.
So it said Seth Green. I'm like, oh, okay, who's he playing? You know,
Yeah.
obviously one of the kids.
He's
But
so
he
cute.
played he basically Seth Greened his way through that role.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I thought was great.
It was good casting.
It was. So the casting was good. It felt like a TV movie,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
except for some of the stuff they did at the end. But
John Ritter. I'm a big John Ritter
oh,
fan
John
as
Ritter.
well.
Oh,
How could we not
God,
talk
how
about John
good was he
Ritter?
in this?
R.I.P.
I'm
I
I'm
know. Mwah.
also R.I.P. to Jonathan Brandis as well.
Oh yeah.
What?
Oh, Jonathan Brandis. He died at a very early age. It got to be like 23 or something
What happened?
ridiculous. I forget. Let me see if I can find it real quick. And if
Yeah.
Super Dave Osborne can
Now
find it really
Mike
quickly.
Super Tech Josh.
Yes. He
Can
died
come
in 2003 at 27.
I didn't realize.
I
he was
don't
that
remember what he
young. I
died
forgot.
of.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's here somewhere.
Oh,
Well,
he fell into a deep depression and then became an alcoholic and ended his own life.
That's correct.
Oh,
Yep.
God, he joined the 27 Club. Huh?
Yeah. And he was
Oh
I
my
think
God,
almost like in the
yeah.
middle of. He was in. I keep saying Deep Space Nine, but that's not it. It was an underwater Deep Space Nine
Oh,
with Roy Scheider
it was
and
a Spielberg
Sequest.
Sequest DSV.
DSV. That
That
was
was
what it
it.
was. Yeah.
When they would, but when Star Trek was so hot, they were like, "We're going to do Star Trek, but in the water. We're going to do
Yeah.
Star Trek, but on the land. We're going to do Star Trek, but on this."
Yes.
It was like, give me a.
But
Star
it was
Trek
also
show.
roughly right around when like things like The Abyss had come out.
Yes.
So they were like, yeah, how can we combine those two things
Right.
and make a TV
Was
show
not
out of
a
it?
bad show. I enjoyed that.
From what I remember of it, I remember really liking it, and I was also a huge fan of Roy Scheider to begin with, and I remember thinking it was a really cool show.
So
Spielberg produced it.
Yes,
I remember that because we were on the Universal Studios story.
here we go.
The one time I actually had to go into Amblin Studios to basically, don't be impressed, I had to deliver a package. But they had Sequest DSV stuff all over the place, so that's what takes me back. But okay, that's it. My little fugue state is over now.
Well, it's getting back to it.
Yes, getting back to
Yes.
it. So opinions. You grew up with this.
I did.
So-
it was one of the, probably because as we have touched upon before, I'm a sort of late to the game horror fan, but that was just on the border of not too scary, that I could handle it. Gore was where I really struggled for the longest time. But no, I remember even, and again, I was a kid, so when it came out, I was in elementary school, and I remember like sitting in the lunchroom going with all my I know, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
With my friends, like, why was it a spider? That was really dumb. Why was it a spider? But we didn't know. Obviously,
Right.
we had no bait. But like that's
Those were the kids,
when I watched it.
Those were the kids who probably said Star Trek.
No, it was just
Yeah.
we did. What did kids have any reference for that? Like nobody read the book. I was in 5th grade. And we were all
I just have this old prejudice about people who just like, oh, why was it a spider?
Well,
It's like,
we have-
it's just like they didn't. I'm projecting.
a little bit. Yeah, a little bit. I was in 5th grade. We didn't know. We were
No,
like,
not
it was
you.
really cool.
Oh, were
up
you
until...
saying that?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know that. I thought you were
No,
like
we
up
were
these
all
spiders.
like,
They
that's
were all...
like one of my first memories of
Oh,
it.
then
Is like
no,
we
I
were all
don't-
sitting around the lunch table in 5th grade, going
"Why
like, we
spider?"
had that was cool, but like, why is spiders?
Really?
It was, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, actually, if I remember the book correctly, it was a spider-like creature.
Right.
Yes.
And, it was like, Dave Allen, here's $100. And he was like, okay, I'll give you a spider, But whereas in the remake, and I know we're not going to focus on the remake,
Right.
I think they handled that creature very much better. Obviously, you could do that
Right.
with CGI
Exactly,
and
yeah.
whatever practical they were doing, that it was a creature that morphed a little bit.
They were obviously very limited in
Right.
Yes.
the 90s. Yeah, I'm just saying, as like a child, I had no frame of reference. It just seemed odd to
That
me.
all of a sudden
But
it was a
that's
spider.
That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying is like that's how long it's been with me since like 5th grade.
And that's an interesting point because, there was no transition. You never actually saw him.
No.
It was like Pennywise would say something funny,
Mhm.
and then there would be like some jolt shot of him going with the
Mhm.
teeth.
Yeah.
Never something that indicated that he was really the illusion projected by a spider-like creature.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It happened
So now I
once.
understand.
It did actually happen once, and that was when he, in a shockingly bad effect, when he gets sucked down the drain in the
Yes.
shower, his
Oh,
hand does
yeah.
come up
Yeah,
with
and
the
it's
clawed.
it's the
That's
clawed
right.
spider
That's
hand.
right.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the
Oh,
only
wow.
time they ever make
that
a.
scene.
That claymation.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes, it's
Again,
really-
they were limited.
yeah.
Ugh.
I have a fun Tim Curry fact on that movie.
Oh,
I can never remember the name of the actual phobia. If the text would maybe to look up the fear of clowns. The
clowns.
legit.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
What?
Colophobia.
Okay.
Clownophobia?
Cholera.
Cholera.
Yes.
Okay, cholera. So it's not fear
Yes.
of cholera.
Tim Curry.
Okay.
By the way, both Super Tech Jake and Super Tech Josh are here
Yes, we
today.
have both
and
today.
Super Tech Jake, I tell you right now, probably is a library of phobias.
Oh,
He just studied not that he has phobias in himself,
He
but
just
for some reason
fascinates.
he's fascinated with phobias.
Makes sense. I mean, yeah, because it can when people say oh, I'm scared of clowns, you yeah, okay, they're creepy, but when it's the phobia, it's a legitimate.
Right.
Right.
So he had a clause in his contract that there could be no reflective surfaces around him when he was in makeup or getting put into makeup because it would trigger like that horrible inducing anxiety. And yeah, apparently he almost got a makeup girl fired because like she had a compact in her hand while doing his makeup at one
Oh,
point.
really? So
Yeah.
he has
He
a
has
legitimate fear of clowns.
crippling. Yeah.
Which
Very interesting as
Yeah.
to take on said role. But yeah.
which brings me to a point that might be controversial.
Oh.
I didn't think he was really good in the role.
Before we go down this rabbit hole, he also almost played Joker, which is like one of the other famous.
But the animated.
Right, but
Yeah.
still.
But still, yeah, I know. Yeah.
Now we have to deal with this.
It felt.
Yeah. You didn't think he was good?
I thought
you
that- well,
can
let me-
leave.
okay, let me
You can
rephrase.
leave. That's fine.
Let me rephrase. It felt like he just came onto the set, did his lines, added a little bit of menace, just a little, but it felt like he was just inserted. I didn't get the sense of menace from him that you would typically get from Tim Curry when he's really on. And I'm wondering if he took the role for a particular reason, had the fear of clowns, did that have an impact on his performance?
I would
And-
be curious to
I
know.
think it's I agree with a little bit of both of those things. I think he was probably inserted into it.
Mhm.
However, I do think his performance was, when you look at the
He scared the shit out
thus
of
the
me.
subtleties in his
fifth grade.
performance.
It
when, you know-
still freaks me out though.
Okay. Well, I still
I
can't watch
agree.
the
I
end of
think-
the original The Fly,
I
because
agree.
it still, fucks me up.
I don't know.
So-
I did the dichotomy of like the bad dad jokes with just the knowledge that he's eating children. I think I don't know. To me, it was.
There are these subtleties in his performance
Yeah.
that like he does this thing where his lip quivers
Mhm.
right when he transitions from being a clown
Mm-hmm.
to it snares, but then there's a quiver in his lip.
Mm-hmm.
It's
That
really
he
subtle.
whenever he transitions from the bad clown jokes to like saying something like, "I'm gonna eat you and your
Right.
children or kill you all."
Mhm.
These
It's just
little
that, like,
subtle
little-
things that
Yeah.
choices that he makes as an actor that are just incredible.
Lighting might have had something to do with it. He was outside a lot. And my complaint, as I have about a lot of TV movies at the time, is that it's classic studio lighting. The
yeah.
lighting did
Yeah.
not feel moody at all.
No.
No, that I guess if you're trying to be that, but I mean, to me, that almost kind of made it scarier. Was that he almost looked like such a normal clown, and that it's this sunny, bright outfit with the makeup out in daylight, and yet inside he's I don't know.
But when he transitioned,
Mhm.
I felt
you
that there
wanted,
could have
like,
been
more-
more atmosphere.
Yeah, that's
And
Oh,
this-
definitely.
This
That's
thing
fair,
felt like
yeah.
the atmosphere was sucked out of it.
that's fair. That's fair.
That's so maybe.
I was very
maybe I'm
aware I was
projecting
watching a set.
Yes.
Yeah. That's
Absolutely.
fair.
Yeah.
Especially the sequence in the library when all the stuff started flying around.
Yeah.
It felt
That's fair.
It felt
Yeah.
like
But I mean, to me, then that's more of a critique of the set and the lighting than him per se.
And this is why I'm glad we're talking about it, because as it's coming out of my mouth,
Yeah.
I'm saying no, that's not quite right. It's not his performance. It was just whatever situation he was plunked into.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like
I
it
would
was
be-
really
I-
capturing him.
I wonder if it happened after he almost had, because he did in fact do 4 episodes of the animated series. He did do 4 of the beginning
Right.
as the Joker, and
Mm-hmm.
they were basically like, "Sorry, you're too scary."
Interesting.
So I wonder if that was before, if he went into that, maybe he did hold back a
They're-
little bit.
Yeah, they
Definitely felt
roughly
restrained.
around the same time. 'cause
You know?
animated series was 89.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe that happened, and he was like, "Well, shit, I just lost this amazing job because I was too intense." Maybe he did hold back then because of that.
It didn't, because we all know everything Tim Curry's done, and it's not like he's an overactor. He
No,
hits
but
that perfect pitch.
he's a very
And
theatrical performer.
Yes.
When you see him as Darkness in Legend,
Mm.
that puts chills on my
Yeah.
forearm whenever
Right.
I see that.
So that's
Which, by the way, my absolute favorite full body makeup appliance.
oh yeah,
One of the greatest designs of anything I've ever seen.
gorgeous.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
compared to Predator or Alien?
I think so in some ways.
Okay.
In terms
It
of
feels
just
more of like a makeup look as opposed to like
Yeah.
costume. Yeah.
yeah, but there's
that's
just
a
something
good point.
opposing about it.
Yeah.
The fact that he's literally standing on these weird stilts that are still repurposed into the makeup itself.
Mhm.
And, well, I will say this. Here are my list of awesome character designs. My absolute favorite is Pinhead.
Nice.
Then comes Darkness. Then comes the Predators. Then comes the Terminator.
Is the Xenomorph not
I
on
was
there?
just gonna say no Xenomorph.
Then the Xenomorph. Oh, sorry.
After Terminator.
I was like, how could you?
And they're
Yep.
not necessarily in a particular order.
Correct.
Those
Yeah,
are
I'm
just
with
my-
you. It's just
It's a snow globe of things that will, wherever it settles, is whatever I'm
Sidebar,
watching at the time.
Have you ever seen the original Predator design?
Yes.
Like the
With Jean-Claude Van
Red
Damme?
Lobster? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my god. Woo! Dodge that bullet, eh?
Yeah.
Wow.
Actually, the Red Lobster was not what the monster would have looked like. That was what they used for the.
No, yeah, that
invisible
was for
thing.
the CGI. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
for the
Right,
keying
but
out.
it was
but
still-
the shape
It
of
still
it
was
was
hilarious.
wrong.
Yeah.
Wrong.
Actually, the Red Lobster is where they went after the show was
Yeah.
over.
Yes.
Because that's all the budget they had
There's
left.
something
Dad
about the
jokes.
helmet in Prey that really reminds me of the
Oh,
lobster.
I still have to see Prey.
Yeah, me
Dude.
too.
I know.
Yeah,
Just-
I
I
see-
need
you're
to
right.
I need to
So good.
re-download Hulu. I know.
That's an excellent.
Yeah.
That's an excellent point. Because
You-
I
you
took
said
it.
you're
more-
thinking
Oh,
maybe
whatever
it
is
was
an homage
deliberate.
to, yeah.
I don't know because when I saw the Predator in Prey, it looked to me more jackalope, more chupacabra.
Yeah.
It was so
But
it felt more
this
like
was the
Animal
original
Skull. but-
monster,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
So
it
his
totally looks.
Interesting. Okay.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So glad they didn't go with that.
Yeah. So the mandibles are fucking everything.
Yeah, they are. But Stan Winston,
Yep.
greatest monster maker since James Whale and the Westmore family.
We have
Yeah.
Actually, it wasn't Stan Winston that came up with the mandibles. It was James Cameron.
Was it James
They were-
Cameron?
They
Yes.
were having
on
it
a plane
together.
Yep.
That's true.
And
Yeah.
he was sketching out designs of the Predator.
And he was
James
like, you know what we
Cameron threw out
haven't
the
seen in a
idea.
minute?
Yeah,
Mandibles.
Mandibles. And he wanted to see it on a movie monster.
Yep. That's true. So what?
I did not
was-
know that because I know like everybody else
It
who
was
worked on the
born
thing,
from
I
a
didn't
conversation
know-
between the two of them, though. But
This
yeah.
is why you need 2 super texts.
I was always under the mythological impression it was Stan Winston, it was Tom Woodruff, it was Alec Guinness, it was Steve Wang. Those were the 4 guys working on
Oh,
the
it was,
different parts of the
Of the
Predator.
Predator.
But the
Yes.
mandibles
And I
in
didn't
particular was
It
yeah.
was Cameron's idea.
It's like, you know
on
what
the
I
plane.
haven't seen in a while?
Yeah.
You know what would be cool?
Yeah, there's enough.
you know what?
There's enough phallic-looking monsters
You
out
know
there.
what?
You know, we should have something that perhaps is a little fairer to the other side of the,
We need a pussy face.
or put more succinctly, yes.
I mean, they call it that in the second one. I'm
Did-
not being
did you-
that.
wait, were you
vulgar.
guys doing James Cameron or a 50s gangster?
Yeah.
He's like, you know what we need? We need one of those
That
pushy
was-
faces.
Yeah,
see?
see? We need-
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't-
Mother of
Find those
mercy.
penis-looking
I'm
creatures.
saying I'm giving James
Yeah.
Cameron some credit because I know a lot of people who like to. I mean, and for good reason to kind of bust his balls a little bit. But he was right about mandibles.
What good reason do they give James for what am I missing?
He's not an easy director. to
Oh
be
no, I
around.
hear that.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
And
I-
his ego.
Well, oh yeah, that whole yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But-
I think he's earned a big ego when every single
I-
movie he's made has been the greatest film ever made.
I have a problem with Avatar.
Yeah.
Avatar puts me to sleep,
That-
man.
It changed CGI forever.
It
though.
did, but you know what? You know what else also changed CGI forever? Captain Tomorrow and the City of the Future. What the fuck was that movie?
Oh, you're talking about the Sky Captain.
Sky Captain and the
And the City of
City
Tomorrow.
Sky
That was-
Captain and Avatar.
Sky Captain is really, and the guy who directed, I don't remember the name, the guy who did Sky Captain got fucked with a capital PH because he made that film basically as a way of showing Hollywood, hey, we can make movies without having to build any sets.
Yeah.
So he basically was George Lucas before George Lucas, did that kind of thing. And I don't know, he wasn't cool enough. He didn't know how to network. He had a bad agent, whatever, but never worked again.
Let it be stated, he actually did that after George Lucas did that twice. It was 2004, 1999, and then 2002 were the first 2 Star Wars movies.
What first 2 stars? No.
The one
The
and two.
prequels.
The first 2
The first 2
Abominations,
where he
yes.
did that.
The prequels.
Right, right. Those awful, yes. Those.
Hey, you know what we got out of those? Ewan McGregor's Obi-Wan Kenobi.
Yeah.
I can
won't-
forgive everything else because we got that.
I will say that, yes. Doing a dead-on Alec Guinness impression.
Oh my God! Seriously. Oh.
So, yeah. So
good.
so it.
So it.
in
So
it
driving
it,
back onto the
it's
Stabby
Road, right? We've been out of practice. You've been out of practice.
We
I'm
always-
I'm
I can
punchy,
steer us back on.
Exactly. We always kind of take the
punchy.
van on detours. Always.
I guess.
Do you know who directed this? Does everybody know?
Yes.
It.
It
It.
was
Oh.
Tommy Lee Wallace.
Who also directed Sonia?
I know.
Hang on.
He knows.
No, I
You're
know.
not allowed
Tommy
to
Lee.
answer.
Yeah, I'm not allowed to answer.
It's was it the second Halloween? No, Halloween 3.
Halloween
Yeah.
3, Season of the Witch.
Sorry.
Tommy was a longtime collaborator with John
Yes.
Carpenter.
I'm nodding my
Yes.
head like I knew that. So I could look,
To be honest, I did not realize that was Tommy Lee who did this.
Yep.
Director.
Sick. I love that.
Didn't he direct Halloween 2 as well?
He did not, but
He was
did
involved.
No,
wasn't
somebody
he?
directed Halloween 2 that was another
Yes.
Or what was it?
collaborator with Carpenter.
Yeah.
Give me a second.
I thought he was involved somehow in the second one too, but
Probably
maybe
did the
not.
music.
It was Rick Rosenthal.
Rick Rosenthal,
Ah.
correct. And they were all
Carpenter.
Carpenterians.
contemporaries.
Yeah.
Also the writer for this, Lauren D. Cohen, wrote like everything he's done was a Stephen King adaptation.
Yeah, Carrie, he wrote the original. He wrote
He wrote the original Carrie and the 2013 remake.
Oh,
and
wow.
the Tommy Knockers he
Tommy
wrote.
Knockers,
Yeah.
And he did the TV show of Nightmares and Dreamscapes,
Oh, wow.
Oh, okay.
Busy.
which was also Stephen King.
Yeah.
God, Stephen King has written so
Oh,
much.
he's so funny.
It's what I saw a meme the other day of like George R.R. Martin saying, "Well, I'll get to finish this eventually." Stephen King says, "Like already done."
Yeah.
There's
Next.
It's like yeah,
You know, like how
great hour-long interview with the two of them.
Ooh.
Oh, that
So good.
and Martin's like slitting his wrists the whole time.
That's literally it.
Yeah.
No, what happens is George R. R. Martin is trying to get one sentence out, but by that time Stephen King has already had 15 conversations.
You know how like you ever hang out with like an artist and like as you're
No.
talking they might like draw a picture of you.
Oh God,
That's
yeah.
like that with Stephen King. Like when you're done,
You're like
he just
he's like the
hands you,
guy
like,
on the
1100
subway
page
who
book.
hands you
Yeah,
like
here's
a
a book.
masterpiece.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that I'm all right.
I actually have one
of
of those on
Here's
my
a book.
wall
It's
back
called
there.
Subway Guy.
Really?
No,
No.
I'm just saying. Like,
But yeah,
if you're on the subway
Yeah.
talking to him,
I have one of those back there.
I haven't been on the
actually.
subway in so long.
And I feel so bad because I didn't realize what was happening at the time. And he's like, if you can, please tip. And this was before social media, so I could
Right.
never find the guy. But yeah,
Right.
he like handed, and I was like, oh. It's really cool. I wonder what it's like to be that talented. Just be like,
Well,
look here, art,
it's,
masterpiece.
It's not easy, but
So modest.
Truly
it's
for you, Joe, it was just the trauma holding you back.
that's it. That's exactly it. That's going to be for the Patreon members. It's just going to be me talking for an hour about my parents.
Aw.
so according to the GPS, we're right just close to getting back on Stabby Road.
Oh,
Just-
okay,
just
right.
So
Sorta.
yes. So back to it.
It's like when I went back and I revisited season 1 of Twin Peaks. I remember how revolutionary it was when I was watching it live the first time.
Right.
I mean,
Okay.
we would have cherry pie and coffee watch parties, at the time, and so much time has passed that it just feels dusty and creaky, and
Aw.
I tried very hard to get back into it, but it's like
Wait, about Twin Peaks or it?
It.
Oh, okay.
Same thing.
yeah.
Same problem I had
Yeah.
with watching Twin Peaks.
You couldn't get quite back into it?
No, and of course the whole when I realized that they decided they constructed the entire first half of it around the time between commercial break to commercial break,
Yeah.
where it was like, okay, guy gets phone call, stares into space, flashback, okay, and then back to him again,
Commercial.
looking scared, and then dum dum dum,
Yeah.
tum to tum tums. So knowing those tropes, it was like, okay, so here we go again, and knowing
Yeah.
how formulaic television was at the time, and the fact that whoever executive produced this thing was probably some 70-year-old guy who started on Mannix, saying, all right, here you go, you gotta give me 15 pages between here, and then you got this is gonna happen,
So that all
And-
takes you out of it way too much.
completely.
Yeah, that's fair. I think I'm probably a little biased with too how much I enjoy it because it's certainly just nostalgia heavy for me.
And God bless
And-
you for it.
And-
But
And
I
I'm-
remember enjoying it because it just wasn't done.
Yeah.
It was revolutionary.
Yeah.
I mean, looking back at it now, one of the budget constraints I noticed is in the writing, because a lot of things that like I don't want to keep comparing it to the remake, that they had the money to show.
Yeah.
A lot of it,
Right.
there was so much exposition and
Yeah,
dialogue
it was a lot more like
that it was like,
tell.
it was
Yeah.
more like here's the thing that happened that we don't have the money to actually show you,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm going to talk about it for 10 straight minutes.
Yeah, for sure. I also noticed, like you saying, like where they were like kind of trying to package it. I never noticed it in the book. Is it every 27 years?
It's every 27 years.
27 years.
Because
Right,
in
'cause I'm
this,
thinking
they
to
say
myself, it's not
30.
Every 30.
They
yeah.
like round up just to make the numbers easier
Oh,
or
because
something.
it came out in 1990, so that
Yeah.
was 1960.
Right,
Yeah.
so they wanted it to,
So, and
Yeah, I just thought
1960,
that was a
just like 1990 was sort of like that edge between the
The
80s and the 90s.
90s, yeah.
1960 is sort of like, it still feels like the 50s,
but
but
Right.
even though there's
yeah.
there's
Interesting.
rockets
There's
coming.
also a weird string of coincidences with the number 27 and like productions of the It movies.
yeah.
Really?
Well, this came out in
Well,
1990,
Right.
Yeah.
and the remake came out in 2017, exactly 27 years later.
And
Oh.
But they had been
Jonathan
trying to do
Jonathan
it for
died at 27
a
years
while.
old,
That's
right?
right.
Yeah.
Jonathan
He
died 27.
years old.
There-
There's a
Okay.
lot of coincidences
27.
with
Yeah.
27 and the
Interesting.
productions of these movies.
Wow.
Interesting.
Very interesting.
interesting.
So does that mean that in... I'm not a math guy.
I'm not a math
So
girl.
18 more years, we're going to see another version of It?
Well, we are getting a TV show soon.
We are
Really?
getting into TV
They're
show.
doing a
Prequel to
Pennywise
the-
show?
It's a
prequel to the movies.
Ooh, okay.
The new
So it
one.
Oh,
predates
that's
the
cool.
Losers Club.
Yes.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say well then, you know what's going to happen? If it predates it, it's going to be a prequel. They're probably going to put it in the 80s. Because I'm smelling
No, it's
just
because
what-
it's going to be in like the 1800s when the dairy was
Oh,
founded.
even better. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, that-
I thought they
that
were
I-
gonna like pull a Stranger Things. It's like, yeah, let's put some fuchsia and blue
Yeah,
on the
no, no.
poster.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
And,
because they
make
already
it
like
the
that
80s.
would the Losers Club in the reboot. They were growing up in the 80s,
Well, that's what I figured.
right? Yeah.
So it would be like maybe adults in the 80s having to go revisit. That was the other thing I
Okay,
did.
Sorry, no, just finish this point because I found a bunch of the 27 things.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I'm
What-
so
what I-
curious about
What I did like about I enjoyed watching the fact that the flashbacks did take place in 1960 because since it was in such close proximity to 1960 that it wasn't hard to go shoot locations that still felt like 1960,
Mhm.
Yeah.
to have props and costumes
Yeah.
that were 1960, and the funny thing was listening to all the offhanded pop culture references, like Hi-Yo Silver.
Right,
Okay.
Yeah.
10 points to anybody in our audience that knows what Hi-Yo Silver means.
Yeah.
The Lone Ranger, his horse, and he would go Hi-Yo Silver.
Oh, were you like waiting for me to answer? I'm
I was
sorry.
waiting for the audience to answer.
Right.
Or
Oh, okay, because I actually didn't know that. Okay.
Yeah,
Aw.
okay, fine.
Yeah,
They-
but he grew up with me, so.
But then they were making references to like Hopalong Cassidy and all
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
kind of stuff,
yeah.
and I'm like, wow, now I can understand why people don't, because it's like they're speaking another language.
yeah,
And
yeah.
it was
Yeah.
so chock full of, just to remind you guys in the audience, this is 1960. We're going to start using all these phrases and stuff. And it's like speaking Old English. It might as well be Chaucer.
Yeah.
I have to say though that watching it this time around with a more critical eye, growing up with it, I knew that there was a past. Obviously, like when they were kids, it was a different time. But to me, there was never like this establishing, like this is a different time era. And so for whatever reason, this time I was like, why are the bullies like greasers?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's 19.
right.
Right.
That's why.
90 minus 30 equals 60.
And that's
so
literally the only thing that took, because everything else was kind of just generic. And
Generic.
like you were saying that the locations were easy enough it was generic enough that I wasn't so, like the 90s and the
Yeah.
fashion was so similar.
And if
that
you watch,
that was
yeah.
the only one
If
that's.
you read or watch any Stephen King
Yeah.
book, all the bullies look exactly like that.
he
so
had an
funny.
issue.
Yeah.
There was
Clearly.
something going on.
There was something in the
I'm sure-
50s that,
He was
that
picked up
traumatized
by-
him royally.
by Danny
Yeah.
Zuko, apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Stephen King was able to turn his trauma into great success.
Oh!
Right.
God, he is.
I don't know what I did. Did I do something to...
No.
I mean,
This is gonna
Jake
be my
is the one who
last
had to go out and take the
Danny
two
Zuko.
Uber, the 35 Ubers today to get
And he's
the
just-
freaking cord so Steve Barton can be on later. You know, Josh is just sitting there saying, "I'm gonna let's see."
He's doped up on allergy meds.
Eeny,
He's
meeny,
not
miny,
himself.
Joe. Okay,
They're
great.
both on
So it's-
allergy meds. They're not going to remember a single thing later.
Oh, wait till we play this back, ladies and gentlemen. That's gonna be awesome. You know,
I want to talk about
anything else? Please.
I want to talk about Dennis Christopher for a second.
Oh yes.
Which one
Thank
is-
you.
I'm
He
sorry?
plays Eddie, the kid with the
inhaler. Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
There are two things about him. One, you don't really think of how good an actor he is until you see where he first started, which is in a horror film called Fade to Black.
Yes.
Oh.
And he
Great
played
film.
he played a teenager who was both a serial killer but also like a fanatic of like this sort of Marilyn Monroe-esque star.
Interesting.
And did he work in a movie theater? I forget that. It's been a while since
I don't
I've
remember
seen
if he
it.
worked in the movie
Oh,
theater,
But
but
he-
he,
but-
did,
but
he
it's-
also made himself up.
Yes.
as characters, and the one that you see a lot is when he's painted himself as Dracula,
Yes, exactly.
and
that's sort of the iconic
that's exactly.
image of the movie.
So it's basically the movie The Fan.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was basically that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Where he was
Sounds cool.
He was also in Breaking Away,
Yes.
which is not a horror film, but it's just a nice little slice of life. You know, people living in a college town, and the rich kids come into the college town, and the poor townies live around. Sort of like, you know, a better version of Good Will Hunting.
Okay.
It's and he plays a guy who's kind of caught in the middle of where he is and where he wants to be.
Right.
And he does such a good job in that film. What I loved about his performance in this is back in the days when you couldn't say gay.
I was going there.
Okay,
Yeah.
then
I
I'll
was
let you-
going
I'm
there.
not
No,
gonna take
go
it.
ahead. Go. Do it.
He did
Yep.
an amazing job of projecting, of talking to people who probably identified with that,
Right.
Yeah.
while staying within whatever the restrictions the network forced on him. It was very clear.
Yeah, there's
that
that
this
great
fella-
moment at the restaurant when they go, "Who are you seeing?" And he does that like the Alec Guinness thing, you know, about with the Clone Wars.
Yeah.
And he just sort of stumbles for a second, and he goes like, "I'm not seeing anybody
Right.
at the moment." But it was also clear that there was a relationship between him and the other limo driver
Yep.
of the company that he ran,
Mhm.
because they make a point of him saying goodbye, and it really is that sort of
It was
The
more-
longing.
that Casablanca shot of
Yeah.
him like going
It
away.
was
and-
not employer-employee
Yeah.
at all.
No.
So
And they touch on that
And-
more abruptly.
Yeah. And Pennywise actually goes, "Where are you having where are you having your love?" And he goes, "How are you having your love?"
right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
or like when Stan's head is in the fridge, he's like, "How's your sex life? What's your sex life?"
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Actually, that's actually
Is
what I
that
was referring to. It wasn't
Yeah.
It wasn't Pennywise. It was
It was Stan's
his
head, yeah.
That's correct.
And then even later at the very end, right before they go and face the spider, he like confesses his virginity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is, you know, which is 1980s TV code for must
Yeah.
be
Gay.
gay.
Yep.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
know? So I think he was really the standout for me, in my opinion, performance-wise. I love John Ritter, and I love the fact that John Ritter played against type, because he was
Yeah.
known as, you know, the wacky guy from Three's Company.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
yeah, Christopher, he just did a great, terrific job. And in this, it was interesting because they do an interesting thing, because in the book, he's actually married.
right.
So you're never sure if he was closeted and married.
Mm.
In here, he's still just living with his mother. And I think it was just a
Right.
way of
Yeah.
shortcutting the visuals of knowing who he was and all these sort of things.
Because it would have been too confusing, I think, to say it's like it's almost like putting it, you know, behind a wall, behind another wall.
Yeah,
Mhm.
You
right.
know? If he had been closeted and married at the time, so they, you know,
Right.
he
Yeah.
has a relationship with his mother, you know, which is always, again, horror movie signs back in the early days, must be gay,
Mhm.
Right.
because
Yeah.
he's so close with his mother.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's to project that in 1990 was astounding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever happened to him? Did he pass away?
No idea.
Dennis Christopher? I
Yes.
don't know.
Because there are actors who you think whatever happened to them, and then you
Mm.
find out that they're on some obscure streaming thing.
I know he
Right,
did.
right.
I know he
season, you know, and
like. I know he worked for a long time in
He
a bunch
did.
of different things.
so if only.
Was-
Thank you.
He is on a bunch of those obscure streaming shows.
Aw.
Good.
He was in Prisoners, which is phenomenal, and
Oh.
Django Unchained, which is also
Who
phenomenal.
was he in Django? Who was he?
Leonide Mogai.
Oh, Leonide Mogai.
I don't remember.
He was Leonide Mogai.
You're being
Did you know
sarcastic,
he
right?
was Leonide Mogai?
Is there a picture of his character?
Hold on.
Because that's I'm like,
Give me
huh?
2 seconds.
It was very hard to
Thank
do
you.
that
No,
without saying Leonid Mogwai. So that's really good.
Thank you,
Django,
thank you. I try.
Leonide. Oh, because I'm only getting Leonardo DiCaprio. Okay.
No other Leonardo
I'm only getting
exists.
Leonid Brezhnev. It's
Oh, it's this guy. All right.
okay.
Oh, my
Oh!
God, that was him. Yes, I
He's
do
Candy's
recognize him.
assistant.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my god.
Good for him.
He looks
And
great.
He's
so he's still alive.
He's
Is he still
alive.
excellent?
for
And
him.
he's still good. Good.
Oh,
we need to
yay.
Now we wish he had bigger roles because he's such a good actor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe he's
Or
they're
maybe he's just
working
one of those.
actors.
Yeah. Well, that's it.
Exactly.
Who just goes
yeah.
home like Claude Rains. Claude Rains would leave every day at 6 o'clock and go home and hang out with his family.
And just be there are so many actors just want to be working.
Yeah.
And there's this great.
That's why
there's
soap
a-
operas exist.
If I can steer off the Stabby Road for a second, there's actually a great line that if you don't get acting, if you're not an actor, it's funny. And if you are an actor, it's both funny and sort of revelatory. It's in the show Barry, where the woman, who's the actress's character's name? I forget. Not Susan, but she's talking about a bunch of like successes, and she actually says like Meryl Streep or Kaylee Cuoco. And if you're not an actor, that's actually a funny thing. But if you are an actor, you're like, yeah, I understand that because they're constantly working.
Yep.
Absolutely.
It was Sally.
Sally, yes, Sally's character.
Yeah.
And that's what that is. If he's satisfied working,
Yeah, then he
that's
doesn't
a
need
wonderful
like, an
thing.
Academy
Yeah,
Award. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I'm that actor. I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
just happy to work.
yeah,
Just happy to work. Period. Yeah.
Saying
Absolutely.
that to potential director.
Just to the world.
Just happy to work, Mr. Director.
No, seriously, I
I'm
fucking
kidding.
love
Yeah.
I'm kidding, 'cause
working.
you guys, yeah.
Well, this is October, so we can say that we are working together.
Yeah, I know. That's
Yes,
that was a
Yes.
an inside nut. I'm really happy.
I
that
still
you
can't
guys-
go into it, but
And it's
are.
not porn.
it's
No,
not
it's not.
porn.
As
Nope.
much as I tried to push you into doing it, like, he just would not.
I
not do
will
it.
not do porn. Oh, you mean directing? I could direct porn, but yeah. I would just be too. I would unless there's a very very niche role for me to do. I'm not doing. I may not do
there's
porn.
niches.
Yeah, there are
There's
niches.
niches.
Well, you can do a non-sex cameo when I make my next parody that I know the super techs are stoked about too. That
Yeah.
I won't talk about.
Oh,
You have to tell us off camera. 'Cause
Yeah.
it's very
You know what? We've already talked about it.
I'm here to deliver the
wait,
pizza.
Okay.
I don't know. Wait, I want to know off camera now.
Your
Okay.
your pizza's here.
hold up! You guys are all doing a porn, and nobody has asked me to be involved in any way.
It's not even
That is
hit
true.
the ground
We're not
running
sure.
yet, dude.
Okay.
No, it's like literally the someday, like maybe next year when Eric and I can maybe have a budget, it'll be our first feature.
Well, I'll
length.
work for free, and I just want to be the drunk guy on the bench. That's it.
There
I wanna
actually is a drunk guy character.
Done.
So there we
Done.
go.
Okay. Fun. Wonderful.
Okay.
That's it.
awesome. Awesome.
It'll be my first non-sex role in a porn film.
Good
so,
for you. Everybody has. Mhm.
Alex, Julia, Sandra. I'm kidding.
You didn't make any cameos in the Skinamax movies back
I
in
haven't
the
made.
day?
I did not make any cameos in
No.
the Skinamax, and even so, I don't consider the Skinamax movie I made a porn film.
That's fair.
That was just a travesty.
I was in
So.
a low budget feature film that wasn't porn, but it starred a bunch of porn actors.
Really?
Oh.
And oh crap, what's her name from The Exorcist?
Linda Blair.
Linda
Linda Blair.
Blair. What was it called? I cannot remember now.
And it starred a bunch of porn people.
The main character was he's a porn actor, an adult film actor. If I showed you his face, you would know exactly who he was.
We're
And
gonna put the title on the screen right now.
Are you?
Well, we will.
Oh, okay. Yes, we will.
Remember it.
I'll find it.
The
Oddly
pamphlet
enough, I think
is-
it's actually in my IMDb.
I'm so curious
Okay,
now.
we have to-
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't just move on.
But the
from
main
this.
guy, the main guy, and I think I'm just greeting guests or something.
When was
or,
this?
Oh my God, this was the late
Who put-
'80s, early
also, who
'90s.
put- Never mind. We'll talk about your IMDb later.
Is it called Bad Blood?
It's what?
Is it Bad Blood?
It is called Bad Blood, but it had a different name when it came out. Was that the one with Linda Blair?
Chuck
Yeah,
Vincent.
Chuck
Chuck-
Vincent.
Chuck
Chuck
Vincent?
Vincent.
Directed it,
Yep. Legendary.
but who's the
Porn
who's the
director.
male star?
Randy Spears.
Randy
Randy
Spears.
Ah, okay.
I think was Randy Spears.
He was
Ginger-
actually quite nice. He was
Amber
actually very
Lynn's,
yes.
Amber Lynn's brother.
in real life, or
Yes, in real life.
I
Amber
hope not,
Lynn's
because
brother-
I have memories of them doing scenes together.
Then it wasn't Randy
Yeah.
because
Okay,
Amber
good.
Lynn's brother was also in the porn business too. And no,
Okay.
it was way before the days, as you all know, of the families having sex with each other in the clips.
First of all, that
genre,
obviously
which
no.
I know it's
No?
not, but it's yeah.
Okay, we got to wrap up.
Beep,
Coming
beep,
back
beep.
on
Oh, we
Beep,
were
that's
just
a
getting
GPS.
interested.
I know you had
Interesting.
more of the 27 stuff, right?
It's real. It's not a ton.
All right.
September 8th, 2017 was when the remake came out.
Mhm.
If you add up 9, 8, 2, 1, 7, it's 27.
What?
But the sequel came out September 6th, 2019. And if you add those numbers up, that is also 27.
Wow.
Oh my God.
And all of the kid actors are exactly 27 years apart in age. So the kid actors from the original and the kid actors from the remake are 27 years apart in age.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
In the
I'm
remake
playing
or
that number
in the
on the
original?
bingo
No,
today.
The kids from the remake are 27 years younger than the kids from the original.
Oh
Yeah.
my God! Really?
That's
Wild.
Wow.
That's weird.
Whoa.
Isn't that? Yeah.
That's freaky.
Yeah.
Okay then.
I wonder if the release dates were like almost deliberate then. That seems
It
like
couldn't have been because they were trying.
they were trying to
do
make
it
this
for a
movie for-
while.
yeah,
It was,
that's
yeah,
true.
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm sure as they got closer, they were like, "Oh, we
That's
have
what
an
I mean.
opportunity
Like,
here."
that's
And
like
if it was a
as
stunt, they would have been. I think they would have been a little. I don't
Maybe
remember it
played it up
being
more,
all
or-
that
yeah.
out there in
Yeah.
all the PR.
interesting.
So,
That's freaky.
wow.
I like it.
Wow.
I like freaky stuff.
I have to play that number.
The number 27?
Yes, number
That's it.
27. That's it.
And before
Just
we go, I do need
scratch
to. I definitely want to touch very quickly on the creature of Pennywise
Mm-hmm.
in the book
Mm.
actually has a bit of a nemesis,
Really?
and he is a peaceful love turtle, which they never used. Yes, Jake.
His name is Mattern.
His name is Mattern. Yeah.
I was about to be like,
And
is his
he
name
has-
Gamera?
No, he wasn't Gamera, which would have been excellent.
Because Gamera is friend to all children.
He
yes,
is-
he's red.
he is the
Yes,
peaceful
and
love
he's made of turtle meat. And for those of you who watch Mystery Science Theater, anyway,
I'm sorry.
and not only is he in this book, he's actually a large character who plays a big, heavy role in all the Dark Tower books.
Really?
Yes.
Well, he's a protector of the Dark Tower.
He's a protector of the Dark Tower. Yes.
Oh, so there's this other just whole
Yeah, he's
other
sort of the
backstory.
yin. He's the yin to
the yin.
Pennywise's. Yeah.
So so in other
Cool.
words, the Pennywise saga was really an episode of happy joy love turtles
Love Turtle. Yes.
saga.
Again, a character
So-
that if you made him literal would have been sort of laughable
Stupid.
to see
Right,
on film.
Well, in the remake, anytime there is like severe danger, but the kids are safe, there is some sort of
There is a-
some sort of turtle. I was
There
gonna
is a
say
turtle
that.
in the shot. Yes.
Oh, so
One
sort
of
of
the
like
kids is a
oranges,
Lego turtle.
sort of
Yeah.
like oranges in the Godfather.
Yeah.
Kinda,
Yeah.
Okay,
but
got
more
it.
like a harbinger of good. Holy
Right.
shit, I need to rewatch it now.
Yeah, now I need to rewatch that
Oh, that's
too. That's pretty
awesome. Oh, I love. See, I had no idea that was a thing. God, I need to read the book.
Can we
Okay.
do a Gamera episode? I would love to do a Gamera.
We should do. Well, we
episode.
should
should
do
a kaiju episode.
We should do a kaiju episode. Definitely.
That would be, but there's so many kaiju too.
Well, then you narrow it
we'll have-
down.
well, yeah, we'll have things to.
Maybe
I
we
know
do
what I
several
wanna pick.
kaiju
Yeah.
episodes.
Why not?
Yeah, I know a movie I want to pick, but I will not say.
Mm.
Oh,
I mean, I'm
okay.
a Godzilla stan, but I feel like as the millennial, I'll do Pacific Rim, and I'm cool with that.
Yeah.
2000s Godzilla.
No,
I got such
You mean the 1998 Godzilla?
I will do Queen
Yes.
of the Monsters.
The
I will not.
The Matthew Broderick Godzilla.
You
Or
know, in all
actually, you know what?
fairness,
No,
that
I
doesn't-
don't.
that-
I don't hate that one. I'll be honest with you.
Right.
I thought
It
I
would've
I
been-
thought it was the most recent reboot, the Bryan
Much like the Chucky
Oh,
movie,
Yeah.
it would have been much better had it not been called Godzilla.
It was a
Exactly.
pretty damn good giant monster.
Exactly.
And I saw it high as balls when it came
That's
out.
a fun way to see it.
Yeah.
At
No,
the Man's
I-
Chinese Theater, and I really thought that there's a scene where
It's
he's
fun.
walking through the cavern between two buildings.
Yeah.
And just the way it panned, I really felt like he was coming down the aisle of the theater. And I thought to myself, this is the greatest movie I've ever seen ever.
No, I have way more beef with the Bryan. It kicked off a great reboot and franchise,
It
but
did.
that was no one
Oh,
You know what?
goes to see a
Hold-
Godzilla movie for the human element.
Okay.
You know what
so-
would have been great to have in that movie?
Godzilla.
Yeah, that's true.
hmm
We had a
He's fucking beautiful, and you get him for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
we had a
And 3 of those minutes are him just dead in the water with seagulls
Yeah.
all
And then
over
the
him.
1 minute is just his
Spoiler.
feet.
Yeah.
we had a War of the Worlds moment at the house the other day.
Yeah.
We usually have CNN on by default, at home. And apparently we didn't one night, and Sandra and I are both, old people in bed, going to sleep. We click it on, and we think it's CNN, but it's
Oh God.
it's the exact lower third from CNN. It says Godzilla no longer Titan of the world or something like that. And Sandra's like,
What?
what is good? And me too. It took like a
Wow.
second. I'm like, was this like the world's sexiest man kind of thing? Only it's like because that's where I went. I didn't go to oh my god, Godzilla's actually destroyed.
It's more
Sandra
like
for a second.
Godzilla dethroned as kaiju.
Sandra actually thought for a brief second because, and she
Aw.
said later, the way the world's going, it didn't
It
surprise
was
shocked
me.
me.
surprising.
It didn't
Yeah, you
faze
know
you.
what? Yeah,
That's hilarious.
that is.
Can we talk briefly about what happened in the room earlier? Joe and Josh and I were in the other room, and Sonia had left her phone on top of this sort of what looked like
It looked like
the
the
spell book.
Necronomicon.
it looked like a Necronomicon.
It's the spell book from Hocus Pocus.
It's the spell
Okay.
Hocus Pocus. And suddenly we're in the room and we hear from the book. So I don't know. It sounded
It's
like
whispering. It's saying like
that.
yeah.
And we didn't realize that Sandra's phone,
Sandra's phone.
Sonia's phone, has the text to speech that
And
comes out of it. We
That's
thought it was the
hilarious.
book.
Yes.
And I was
It's
like,
been
well,
one of those
yeah.
days, man. I'm punchy
But
as
like
hell,
you said,
but-
at this point in time, nothing would surprise us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For my Aqua Teen fans out there, it's literally just chicken, arise, chicken, arise. That's my text tone.
Oh, okay.
Got
That's
Yeah, because
it's
I
an
heard
Aqua
the word
Teen
arise,
joke.
and we were like, okay, I'm just
That
gonna,
you
I'm
know
just
what?
gonna
Coming
casually
from the
get
book,
up and
not
walk
knowing,
out of the room.
yeah, that would
it
be
was,
freaky.
at that point, it was like, yes.
We are
you
going to
know,
do the podcast
Klaatu
from the
Barada
car.
necktie.
Yeah.
Okay, we're getting
Anyway,
the sign.
so we are getting the sign to end. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of the Stabby Road podcast. My name is Rob Graydon.
I'm Joe Sena.
And I'm Sonia Harcourt.
And as always,
Thank
stab
you
your
for
road
taking
a
walk
walk
on
in
the
Stabby
walk
Road
on
with
Stabby Road
us.
with the three of us.
Dick Bush.
Dick Bush! The Stabby Road podcast was created by Joe Sena, hosted by Rob Graydon, Sonia Harcourt, and Joe Sena. Recording technicians Josh Graydon and Eric Todd. The Stabby Road podcast is a production of Fourth Castle. All rights reserved. See you next week.